Well, welcome to J is for Justice, the Theories series on the Watts case. And tonight we have Dave. Dave is our fellow Australian listener. How you doing tonight, Dave?
Very well.
Thanks for joining us. And I got Dre with me too.
Hey guys.
What's up, you guys?
Just hating on this case forever and ever and ever.
Hating on this case. Are you hating it because you don't have all the answers?
No one has the answers because we didn't get a trial.
Right. So we all have theories in our minds of what could have went on or what we think went on. So what is yours? I'm so curious to hear it.
Well, mine is basically, it's just pretty much, I just want to know why, this is Nicolekessinger I'm talking about, she was never interviewed or led, why she wasn't ever asked any questions pretty much of her whereabouts ever. Leading, after, from when Chris Watts had to explain, or pretty much he tried to explain how he got out to Survey, everything in the morning. What was Nicolekessinger's movements that morning? We have her phone pinging in the morning in Frederick, but that's all we ever hear of it. That's it. Mm-hmm. So I just want to know what were her movements, and nobody asked her the question because she was only ever questioned as a witness.
Now, let me interject there. Do you think it's possible, though, that some of these questions or some of this information could be redacted in
there was 25 pages, I think, redacted in that out of 9,960, wasn't there? So possibly it is redacted, I would imagine. Yeah. I've had a good look at that thing too, that discovery myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so why do you think, though, that would be, why do you think that would be redacted, though? Like, there's got to be reasons, too, why that many pages are redacted and what's in them.
Well, the thing is, they went after, he's admitted to killing his wife. It's too hard to bring somebody else into it now because he's admitted to one of the murders. Now it's easier to get him on all of them. Because at the time he hadn't admitted to killing his kids.
So you don't feel like the investigators were necessarily digging for the truth. They were more so digging for a confession.
They're digging for a confession and somebody to suit their narrative. Like, because he confessed to that, well, let's now focus on Chris Watts. Mm-hmm. Like, so they bring all the evidence forward to actually have it all on him, whereas they didn't look at any other potential suspects.
Okay, now, whenever I hear someone say this is always my question. So we had the FBI involved, the CBI involved, and the Weld County Police Department involved. Why would they all cover up any kind of maybe involvement with the mistress?
They're not covering it up.
You don't think they never uncovered anything with her?
They're not covering up. They built something towards a different narrative. So they didn't actually investigate anyone else.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yep. So they're not actually blaming. They're not actually looking for anyone else. So they're not going to interview anyone else as a suspect because he's admitted to killing his wife. So now we'll focus all of our attention now on Chris Watts.
Okay. So you're saying they had a one-track mind on Chris Watts and never, you don't think they entertained the fact that the mistress had any involvement?
They might have personally in their heads.
Mm-hmm. But not on paper.
Not officially, not on paper. Well, not on the paper that any of us got to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why those 25 pages that were redacted will have to come out in court if he gets granted a trial.
So, so I've heard some people say, like, in their professional opinions, they think there is like zero chance he's going to get a new trial. But how do we know that without knowing what his arguments are?
Absolutely. I fully agree with you because he has an argument, right? And the best argument he's got is everything was done under duress in the end because
Mhm.
he went in there with a fresh mind on the 14th, at 11 o'clock in the morning, I think, the 14th or the 15th of August.
It was the 14th.
It was the 14th. Then he went,
he went back on the 15th in the morning for the lie
correct.
detector. Yep, that's how it
Correct.
went
Okay.
down.
So the reason they sent him home was so he could try and get some sleep, obviously, but somebody that's obviously did what he did probably didn't get much sleep. So he's gone in there and got expecting the lie detector test to start very quickly. Well, Tammy. Yes, Tammy.
Oh, Tammy
Brilliant.
Lee.
Tammy, brilliant at her job, but sorry. Chris Watts had the opportunity. I'm sorry, there has been that many wrongful convictions, wrongful confessions. This is 2018. It's all over YouTube. It's all over everything. You have the right to remain silent whenever you talk to the police. You don't even have to be given caution to remain silent. You can actually remain silent, right? They told him on 3 occasions, you can leave whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want. He didn't leave. She kept him there for 5 hours before the polygraph.
And he just kept talking.
They kept asking questions. Right? She kept asking questions.
She went with it, of course. Yeah,
she went with it, right? She was doing her job. Like, he thought she was just the polygraph girl.
Yes.
Right? He had no idea that she was FBI.
Right. She introduced herself as the polygrapher, and she said, I don't really know much about what's going on. I'm just here to give the lie detector. So he felt it was, I almost felt, Dave, like he was almost telling her his story as to convince her that maybe she could tell the powers that be. You know, it was almost like this desperate attempt to get his story to someone else who was unbiased, or so he thought. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, but he still had the opportunity to walk away, even before he did the polygraph, even after the 5 hours, and they let him sit there for God knows how long. Then she came in and finally started the polygraph with him.
Well, it was like, so much for being fresh at this point.
Okay, now he's gone and what do you call it? He's finished the polygraph, and they let him sit in that room for 45 minutes. He could have got up and walked out and gone home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They would have said, where are you going? He said, home. I've done the polygraph. I've done it. I can go home now. And then they would have said, no, you actually can't. Blah, 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 if they had enough evidence. But they had no evidence because he hadn't confessed. Because they had no evidence. They had nothing on him. Nothing. All they had was the polygraph, which isn't admissible in court.
Exactly.
You know, irrelevant if he fails it. Like, even if he didn't fail it, they're going to say he failed it. Because they want him to admit what he's done. You know, it was obvious that he did something, he was involved, but they still had nothing on him, and he could have easily just got up and walked out of that room.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's saying he's intelligent. He doesn't have much common sense.
No.
That's all. He's very, very smart man, but he's lacks a lot of common sense. So that's part of my theory I've got.
So you're more about the actual interrogation, the plea. That's where you get caught up, is because
absolutely.
You think if he would have walked out or would have gotten a lawyer besides a public defender, that possibly this would have led to a further investigation.
Absolutely.
And you don't think that Chris Watts knew that? I think he did. I think when he was offered this plea, he knew exactly why he was taking it.
He's protecting someone else.
Is that what you think?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we've been told, though, that he did it to escape the death penalty, which, Dre, in Colorado, they're not killing people.
They don't.
Yeah, well, I've got some bad news. No, he didn't do it to escape the death penalty. The The mother of Shanann Watts said
Wanted
she
to
didn't want anybody else killed.
She wanted to spare his life.
She did, but
Correct.
she really wasn't sparing his life because Colorado doesn't enforce.
I can't
the-
even
the
tell you
death
when was the
penalty.
last time we executed someone in Colorado.
He actually, from what I hear, would have probably had a cushier stay on death row.
Yes.
And he gets 50 appeals.
50.
Well, you know what I mean. It's quite a big exaggeration, but he gets more appeals.
Yes, on death row.
On death row, he gets many, many appeals compared to you only get like three shots at the appeals thing, I think, if you're actually convicted.
So, I mean, I get, that Sandy said, I didn't want to take someone else's life. I get that. But ultimately, in the end, his life wasn't going to be taken by the death penalty.
No.
For sure. But the thing was, he's admitted to killing her kid. Why? Would she not want him? I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, I think she stated it was for religious purposes. Like that was something with her faith that she didn't feel she had the right to take his life.
Okay, so the judge took that into account, but he didn't have to actually agree.
Well, he didn't. But this was all decided, prior, right? This plea.
Yep.
So when he pled guilty, I mean, we don't know what the terms were in that plea either. Because I've heard several things that may have been included in that plea. One being destruction of evidence.
That one bothers me.
And I don't know how accurate or true that is. But supposedly this came from Chris, that it was in the plea agreement that they had his permission to destroy evidence in this case.
What?
That's what I was told. But like I said, I don't know if it's 100% accurate. But even
what
if
evidence
it is,
are they going to destroy?
Right. So that brings me to my next thing, which involves his phone and his wallet. Weld County held his phone and his wallet for a very, very long time. I believe his parents never got his phone back. And his wallet, it took, I think, this year.
Didn't they say too back in February?
Yep.
After they went to Wisconsin after Chris was transported to Dodge. They said, "Well, your parents have been asking about your phone and your wallet, and we have it, and we're going to relinquish that to your parents very soon."
Yeah, they never got the phone.
That's unethical.
But they did receive the wallet, but it took till this year. So it took a good year after they said that, which is interesting to me. And where's the phone?
Yeah, where is the phone?
Yes, there's lots of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd things surrounding this, and I think that your theory brings up a lot of good questions, but no answers still. Right?
I know, and this is where she didn't. Okay, Nicolekessinger did not clock into work that day.
Okay, do we know that for fact?
Well, it was stated. Here we go. Hang on.
Oh, he got printouts.
It was in Discovery, though, wasn't it? Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it actually stated in Discovery somewhere that she didn't clock into work that day.
Okay, so on the 13th, she didn't clock into work, but she pinged in Frederick.
Correct.
Okay, this changes all that I thought. I didn't realize she didn't clock in.
Correct. So
didn't she still go to work, though? I thought she was
I heard she clocked out.
Ah. So
and that's it.
Did someone clock her out, or?
Quite possibly. But she was never clocked in. And she was a contractor, so she wasn't actually employed by Andarko. So she has to clock in and clock out every day because she's not on a salary. She's on an hourly wage, basically, as a contractor. And she has to prove that she was there.
And one day.
That one day, righto. So
okay, wait. Okay, now this is all coming together for me. So if she didn't clock in that morning.
Correct.
And she pinged in Frederick at like 6 or whatever time it was.
And it's only because she made a phone call or received a phone call. That's
But
the only reason her phone
she
would
was in
ping.
that area for her phone
Correct.
to ping off of Frederick Tower.
Correct.
And the only other time, and I remember looking for this specifically, the only other time she pinged in Frederick was when she actually admitted she was there doing his
Correct, when she-
macros. Her
Yep.
phone did ping and it said Frederick. And then the only other time was that morning, the morning of the murders.
Correct.
So if you're saying she didn't clock in,
Yep.
and then all this goes down with Nicole Atkinson in the morning.
Correct.
So she thinks, oh shit, I better clock out because I want to make it appear like I've been at work all day.
Correct. And we don't know in any of the questioning, was she at work? Officially,
So
we
that
have
makes
never
me
heard.
curious about is their system for clocking in and clocking out. That is something that I'm curious about. Like, what does that look like? Is it something you have to log in on a computer?
I have no idea.
Like, are you on a VPN? You know what I'm saying? You know all about VPN. So like,
yeah, I certainly do.
You know, a corporate job, you usually have to sign in on a VPN.
Yep.
I just wonder if they had those capabilities on their phones as well.
Quite possibly.
If she could have done that remotely. That's very interesting. I did not realize she did not clock in.
She did not clock in.
Clocked out. It's interesting that she was able to clock out without clocking in. And that's why I'm wondering what kind of system that would be.
I don't know. Because the thing is, if you go further and you look further into it, see, all about the doors being opening and closing at certain times throughout the day.
Yes.
In the house. Now, this explains to me, in my eyes, that she was still in the house when Chris Watts left.
Now,
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I do. I've always thought that, man.
But what do you mean during the day? I thought the only notifications were right when he left.
No. Later on in the morning, the basement door was left open.
But wasn't that shortly after he left for work? Like within
I thought it was later in the day.
I thought it was within a couple of minutes of him leaving.
Okay.
Well, there was one at like what
5:24 and 5:27.
27.
One was the garage door and one was the basement door.
But
so
he didn't have the Vivint thingies on the windows. And there's
what
no
do you
cameras
mean
in that back.
Oh, yeah. That's where we got the theory that Nicole may have went down in the basement.
Yes.
And went out that daylight window down there.
Their window wells are super small and very easy to climb in and out of.
Well, she's little.
Yep.
You know, like really, like she could easily have got in and out of there.
And
if her car's parked out the back, there's no camera.
Yep. See, but what I get confused with is his times of the notifications coincide with him still being in the driveway, according to Nate's camera. So was it Chris that made those notifications go off? Because it's so close in the time frame of him leaving.
Okay, well, if he had that capability of doing that, pretty much, if he made them go off, was he in that vicinity in the house? Because at the time, if you believe the shadow theory, he was lifting Bella into the car.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's lifting one of the children, unless the police doctored that evidence in some way.
I don't believe in the shadow
it
theory. I don't believe in it.
You don't believe that she was getting lifted?
No.
Okay, well, it looks like that's what he's done. So something's happened and something's been done to that video that we've all seen, if that's the case, because it looks like he bent over and picked somebody up.
I think maybe he picked something up, but I don't think it was a child.
Well, it was walking towards him. That shadow, that small shadow, was actually physically walking.
I didn't see. See, I guess I have the theory in my head that the kids were both
killed in the house.
Yes, that they were deceased before he left.
Okay,
I have a hard time believing, especially after watching that drive, that those girls were alive back there. But I have heard a theory tossed around that Bella was the only one alive.
Mm.
I have heard that. And that is another theory that I'm going to present. Someone sent to me. But that's a very interesting one, too. And that may convince me a little bit to think more along the lines of those shadows.
Yes, quite possibly. And the other thing is, where's all the video from the front door camera throughout the day?
Thank you. I've always wondered that too.
Yeah. How about
Just like Nikki Atkinson turning up to the house, knocking on the door, looking at Shannon's shoes,
Yeah.
realizing that, where's that video? Where is that video? Where's the video of the red car next door to the house driving out?
Well, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into the next theory because that kind of falls into that.
Okay.
Where they're saying that Chris borrowed this fire stick so that he could divert the Wi-Fi in his home from picking up on the Vivint.
Okay, because in Discovery, he's using that because he wants to move to the new house and he won't be able to afford to have cable. So he wanted to use the Fire Stick for that.
Yeah,
in Discovery, that's what it actually states.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound plausible because A, the house wasn't even for sale.
No.
Yep,
Why would you be worried about streaming?
Yeah, well, Troy obviously knew what to do to make that happen. Otherwise, Chris would have just done that himself if it was all about the telly. I mean, he was smart in that way.
The Fire Stick thing bothers me.
Me too.
And I don't know like how you can do that, like divert Wi-Fi. I don't know how Fire Sticks work.
I have no idea. I only read up on Fire Sticks before we actually got in this call today.
You did or didn't?
I did. I only just read up on them. I had no idea what it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't use it. I have Apple TV.
That's me. I've never even used a Fire Stick.
No, me either. I've used Roku. It's built into one of our TVs, but
yes, that's what I've got.
I don't know much about the Fire Stick, but I do have a theory that he did something with the Wi-Fi, and I guess it'll go a little deeper into it and maybe put some things together. But I'm hoping
it does sound plausible though, Jay, because I mean, think about it. If he was sneaking around using a secret calculator, that level of planning or that level of like, you know what I mean, concealing your second life.
I'm telling you, if he did that got the Fire Stick for that reason, then that's premeditation. And I've never believed that this was premeditated, and that would change everything for me.
Yeah, it would change.
Well, if you want to look at premeditation, you look at the so-called getting my tools getting stolen out of the back of my truck. I'll go over to Nate's camera and I'll go and have a look and see exactly what his camera covers in my driveway. If you know what I mean, like if we're going to go down the premeditation,
were there really break-ins, or
correct.
Was that just a story?
That was a story, so he could have a look at Nate's camera.
Because they never called the police to, the police seemed clueless about any car break-ins.
Absolutely. And it was only Nate that knew about it.
My detective just showed up. So he'll probably want to talk to you. He'd probably, like I said, he might have you call at the bank and see if there's any kind of activity.
Because if there is any sort of action out there, on his camera, I would have got it. Like we had issues the other week when people were kind of stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that, and I had parked my car. I had to park. Yeah, so someone I could see someone try to jimmy with a flathead screwdriver over there.
And the Fire Stick part, because I've never really paid attention to the Fire Stick.
Oh, the Fire Stick. That I've already, I didn't know what it was, but I'd already heard the theory long time ago that the Fire Stick was used to do something with Vivint. I wasn't actually quite sure what it was.
See, I had never heard that.
I'd heard it. It was somebody actually said it.
In chat?
Yeah. Oh, no. It's in one of your videos in the timeline. It's somewhere. It was in writing or it was actually spoken. Somebody spoke
I think it
This
was
is what it
Troy.
can be.
I think it was, who did he meet for the fire stick? Troy?
He met Troy in that parking lot, and the girls.
And that was
were
when
in-
he texted what's his face.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
said, "Hey, I'll go out there first thing Monday."
Correct.
And the girls were in the car. Remember, he said the girls were in Shanann's car in that Lexus.
Yes.
They met at that.
Yes.
parking lot.
Yes. Okay, so
Yep.
we need to pull up that footage and play
Okay.
some of that.
Let's cover some timeline stuff here.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with on Sunday. So Sunday would be the 12th.
Yes.
Did you talk to
No,
Chris at all on the
I didn't
12th?
speak to him over the weekend. I seen him on Friday.
I seen him on Friday. So that was the last time you saw him before the
Monday.
work week.
Yes.
Okay.
I seen him on Friday, and he'd taken off Friday to take Shanann to the airport for Phoenix.
Okay.
And then he told me he wanted me to look at his fire stick that he bought. I said, okay. So
Like TV fire stick?
yeah, the
Okay.
Amazon fire stick.
Sure.
So before the workday ended on Friday, he's told me that he'd meet me at the Safeway parking lot there in Fort Lupton. And he showed up in their Lexus, and Bella and CC were in the back seat. So he jumped out, gave me the fire stick, and right after he gave me the fire stick, that's whenever Cody called. Cody Roberts, the operator of the Service 319, and said that he thought there was a leak in the bypass line.
And that's on 319, you said?
Yes, the Service 319.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because that bypass line is now locked and tagged out because we done that Monday morning.
Okay. Okay, so Bella
Bill and CC, or
and
Celeste.
Cece.
Yeah.
Cece were in the back seat
Yes, sir.
and was Shanann?
No, sir.
Was she
He'd
in the
already
front
taken
seat?
her to the airport.
You already took her there.
Yes.
Do you remember what time this was?
I look back to my text messages I gave you because he told me he was sitting by the 5.0. There was an orange Mustang sitting in the parking lot.
Okay.
I think it was one of the ladies that well, it looked just like the one I used to have.
Okay.
Because I had it red when I was telling you about that earlier.
Yeah.
So, and he's a huge Ford guy because he was a master mechanic.
Yeah, I remember you said something about that.
Sorry.
No problem.
Chris Watts. Okay. Okay, thanks. Forward you the link. You just sent it there. Okay, right here. It's at 3:05.
Okay.
Is whenever you sent me the text message. Here, parked next to the orange 5.0.
Okay.
So,
And he was driving the white Lexus.
yes, sir. And Bill and CC were both in the back. They were buckled up in their car seat. And he had pulled forward in the parking spot, and I pulled back here. And he was talking to me for, I don't know, about 3 or 4 minutes, and you could hear him hollering in there. So he got back in the Lexus, and he backed it up so they could see me. And they waved at me and everything like that.
Okay. All right. And so you have no text conversation, no phone conversation, nothing like that over the weekend, Saturday and
No,
Sunday?
sir. Nothing.
Okay. So Monday morning,
Okay.
what time do you leave to go to work?
I usually leave my house about 6 o'clock.
Okay. Is
I'm
that
supposed to be here about 6:30.
here at the office?
Yes.
So did you come straight to the office on,
Yes, sir, I did.
on Monday morning?
Yeah.
So 8:13.
Yeah, and I received a phone call from him Monday morning, but I couldn't answer it while I was driving. So you can see in here, it's phone call declined.
Okay.
Now let's go. Now, is it possible that Chris Watts, after he's got the phone call from Nikki, well, Nikki's actually contacted him a few times that morning, not just the once, probably 3 or 4 times. They've been in touch with each other via text and phone call. It took him about an hour. He left at 12 and got home at 1, roughly. How long's that drive in the middle of the day, Dre?
So it's you're talking about from the house to Survey.
Yep.
That is about a 50 to 55 minute drive for us.
So
And
he's
that's driving the
okay for
speed
him. He does it every day, so it's probably about 40.
Yeah. Yep, he
Okay,
knows
so
that route.
because he knew what he was doing. Okay, so let's say he's got 15 or 20 minutes. Where was he? Now, possibly
Well, we know
Was
he
he-
stopped at the construction site.
correct before he got home to meet the police. But was he actually stopping at the mailbox?
The
And
mailbox.
Is it possible he had a PO box or something, didn't he? And is it possible that NK left the house out the back and put the items in the mailbox, i.e. Shannon's phone, watch, and the garage door clicker, the wedding ring, and possibly even the bathroom key. How did he have all that with him? Because that was basically in his hands when he walked into the house.
Oh my God.
That's what he was actually hiding in his clothing area, under his clothing, under his arm. He had all of Shannon's stuff because he's gone into the house and it took, what, 1 minute 40 from him walking into the house through the
he
garage.
was in there for, it was a good minute.
He was in there for a minute.
So we're talking a guy who's fit. So he's run upstairs, put everything where he put it, and then in discovery, he's turned around and said Shannon's phone was on the couch.
Now, can
Well,
I
Shannon-
say, though, I'm really intrigued because, Jay, do you remember you had screenshotted a picture of Chris coming up out of the truck in that driveway, and you said, what is in his hands? What is he carrying?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued what Dave's got because it did look like he had like a lump of stuff in his hand.
It's under his arm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holding it under his arm.
I was trying to like zoom in to see what it was because I was trying to figure it out, but it looked like I was trying to figure out if he had a phone there. I couldn't make it out. But when he opens the Lexus door, I think
he picked something.
He grabbed the ring, and I had a feeling that ring was in the cup holder, and that someone had put it there and told him, "I put the ring in the cup holder." Or something.
Absolutely. And, he had no idea that Nicole Atkinson was going to be at the house. Like, seriously, his whole plan got...
Right. But he had 45 minutes of a drive to think, okay,
Yeah,
what do I need to do first when I get there?
Absolutely.
Like, he had his plan in his mind. When he hopped out of that truck, he knew when he went in that garage, he was opening that Lexus to get something. That was his first order of business. He didn't turn around and look at them and say, come on in. He just went right in the house, did what he planned on doing. Then he let him in the other door, which I thought was weird. Like,
can I ask you guys, why did he go down in that basement? Like, as quick as he did?
I'm here. Hang on. Yeah, get me on the phone. Okay, get me on the phone.
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that,
she would drive? Okay. Is there any way you can look for today? During the daytime?
Chris is in the house. We're standing outside of his house. Can we go in the house?
I mean, that's up to him. It's his house. If you guys...
Nikki, I'm giving you permission to walk in my daughter's house.
Mind if I come in, Chris? Okay. You checked upstairs? She's not there? I just want to make sure she's not passed out somewhere. You mind if I look around?
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
was Dieter in the basement or no?
I don't know.
That,
but when did the suitcase get taken down there? It got taken down there on the 14th, didn't it? So the suitcase was still there on the 13th upstairs, Shannon's suitcase, and then it was in the bedroom, and then it was actually downstairs when they were searching. Shannon's clothes and suitcase.
Oh, you know what? You're right, because Nicole said, I see her suitcase at the bottom of the stairs and her shoes she wears every day are by the front door.
Yeah.
But then there's those pictures in Discovery of it open in the bedroom.
Correct.
Yes.
What the fuck? Why did I never think
I didn't think of that either, Jay.
that didn't add
But
up?
this is why people have their vision of something. Getting back to the police interrogation, Jay, you have a vision of something, you're trying to build a narrative in a way, and you miss things. And somebody else has actually brought it to your attention,
Yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, I never thought about that.
And I should know better because I was knee deep in the Oklahoma City bombing, and I think that case is full of what you just said. But I still always go for like the common sense avenue,
Of
come on,
course, yep.
right. And then you get in these rabbit holes and you start to think, oh my God, am I starting to think something that's not, but then to hear someone else kind of confirm it.
All I'm trying to do is go through everything I've looked at.
Right.
That's
and you've
all.
obviously picked up on things that I haven't and vice versa. And that's why you're right. These theories are so important to talk about because we can actually piece things together. There might be a little bit of each theory in the truth.
There's a lot to being able to actually have this opportunity to talk to you because it's so hard. I mean, I type about 20 words a minute. So to be able to have this opportunity to speak, and hopefully I'm talking slow enough for the people from Colorado.
No, you did.
That you can understand me because Nicolekessinger spoke very slowly.
She did. Did she not sound like she smoked cigarettes too?
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
Hardcore, like
I meant you guys to mention earlier too when you were talking about the interrogations and things, and the fact that her dad sat in there too. I mean, ridiculous.
Heard that. Now, was he involved with law enforcement at some stage?
I'm not sure what
because he actually addressed the police officer, or the police officer addressed him by his first name.
I have heard that there's kind of a good old boys system there that that he's familiar with the DA.
Because he said, "Don't ask a leading question." Well, who's the dad to actually tell the copper
exactly
how to direct the actual investigation? Because it can't be, and the father shouldn't have been in there. He should only be there to make sure it's done properly. He can't actually interfere with an investigation.
Correct.
And that's what he did when he actually answered.
Oh, he led that whole conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, Nicolekessinger has an opportunity when you're being interrogated or you're being questioned or you're being treated as a witness to say, I don't want to answer that. She can actually say that, even if it's a leading question. She can say she doesn't have to answer it.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a 30-some-year-old woman
who has
dad sitting there.
Yeah, I know, and she's not like a 13-year-old girl. She's a woman having an affair with a married man.
Right. I mean, and first of all, like the investigators should have known better than to have her dad in there when you're talking about an affair.
Yeah, absolutely.
How transparent are you going to be in front of your dad?
Exactly. Correct. I feel like that whole interview was a conflict of interest in a homicide case with multiple people.
For sure. Yeah. And I haven't looked at any paperwork yet in Discovery. I haven't got to, I've read a lot. Flicked through a lot, obviously. But it's 2,000 pages. I mean, I can't even read a Harry Potter book. So the chances of me reading all of it, I just looked at anything associated with Nicolekessinger, and in Discovery, I hadn't seen anything that states the father was actually in the room yet.
Right. That's another thing. I've noticed that too, that I didn't see that he was actually in the room in the Discovery.
In Discovery.
Yes.
We can see
you hear him in the audio,
hear him in the audio, but there's no paperwork. And there's nothing to document that he was actually in the room. So
rumor has it that her dad is a Freemason.
Stop it.
Oh, well, there you go. The boys club. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. What? That's supposedly where it stems from, the connections.
There should be a video. It would be nice if we could see a video of how he shook hands with the officer.
Right.
But they have a special little handshake, these Masonic people. So
yes, they do.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conspiracy topic there.
Why do you have the bathroom key in his pocket for the kids' bathroom? Why was it just sitting there in his pocket? Like, really? Like, it shouldn't have been just in his pocket. It should have been somewhere in the house. Surely. Why would he be walking around with a bathroom key?
I didn't know he was, I guess. Dre, did you know that?
He pulled it out of his pocket as soon as he handed it to the copper out of his pocket.
I thought it was up on the
on the frame of the door.
Yeah, that's where I thought it was at.
He pulled the bathroom key out of his pocket when the officer couldn't find it to unlock the doors. He also walked out and said he'd found Shannon's ring on the table at the same time because the key wasn't on top of the door.
What's this door right here go to? It's locked. Do you have a key for it?
Yeah, they wake up and tell us to go right here and just play with that. Yeah.
Well, that's private.
So you normally keep it locked? Yeah, because they would go in there, they'd be in the soap. Like last time we had Vaseline everywhere. So that was not fun. So does she normally make the beds, the kids' beds? No, not normally. This all looks normal to you. Does it look like this maybe in a rush or this is about normal? Like when kids go get up first. Yeah, they'll just kind of like look around. Sure. Just go get her. Sure. Okay. Alright. So we don't wake up till they wake up.
So why do you think that they were locking the door?
That's a good question.
What happened? Remember the kids' toilet was
There's
empty
no
of water.
water.
Obviously,
No
water.
water.
yeah, a lot of parents. I mean, I'm a parent, so yes, kids like to play in the toilet, and yes, you might want to drain it, and yes, this and that. But really?
But how do you drain a toilet but still have water in the tank?
Exactly.
Exactly right. That's the $1 million question. There's lots of them, and by pleading guilty, we never got to hear any answers.
I mean, they may have kept those doors locked so the girls didn't go in the bathroom at night without
Possibly.
them.
But the girls weren't one. Exactly. I'm sorry. They were 4 and 3. They knew how to go to the toilet. I'm sorry. Most kids are all trained by late 2.
You're right. But they weren't the typical parents either.
This is true.
I mean, Cece had a diaper on.
Yeah,
a nighttime diaper.
They're not going to wake up in the middle of the night and go and play in the toilet. You know, you're going to look for your favorite doll.
But overprotective parents may lock that door at night.
Well, I mean, I could overprotective.
Yeah, I could see them doing that, but why the key was in his pants that day?
Correct,
is beyond
because
me.
the officer was trying to reach above the door to look for the key, and it wasn't there. He actually pulled it out of his pocket and gave it to the officer. That was the thing. The officer didn't find the key above the door. What else have we got?
But what is your theory on what happened to the water? Like, what could have
no idea. I have no idea. I don't.
I mean, would you have
What's
had
down there?
Would you have to get a shop vac and like suck it out because there's water in the tank?
Yep. I don't know. I have no idea how he's done it or what's happened or why there was.
And it was bone dry when they looked.
Yep. So I don't know what's down there.
Right. Okay, so you think that maybe the kids were killed in that bathroom?
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. And there'd be very little evidence, if any, to suggest that it actually happened because it's in a bathroom and the kids are in and out of there all the time. So
why would he lock the door then if there wasn't any evidence showing what happened?
He didn't know that.
He just locked it on his way out.
Correct.
Like, I'll deal with this later.
Yep, because his plan was to come back and do everything, fix it all. But he didn't plan on Nicole Atkinson being there with the police.
Correct.
If it was Nicole Atkinson there by herself, he could have got rid of her outside the house. You know, but the police were there. So they're there to investigate somebody that's possibly missing now. So, and then he could have said, I'm not going to let you in without a warrant.
He could have.
He wasn't thinking.
I think that he's just, like you said, the common sense isn't there.
Yeah.
And he's so childlike.
Yep.
And I don't think that he even knew what in the hell to do in that situation. I think that if he would have said, you know what, you guys can't come in, I think he would have been scared to do that, thinking that would make him look guilty. So I think he was
Yeah.
trying to be as like cooperative.
Yeah.
He appears to be cooperative and coming up with ideas. Oh, I don't know where else she'd go. You know, he's trying to come up with different theories of where she could be.
He wasn't very cooperative for the 1 minute and 40 seconds that he went inside the house before he let the copper in. Why didn't he just go from the garage? Like, all he had to do was turn right, and he was at the front door. It should have taken no more than 5 seconds for that door to open.
Not only that, why couldn't they just follow him through the garage?
Correct.
That would have been the quickest way to get a police officer in there. I mean, if Shanann was in there passed out, you would want a police officer right behind you.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, Nikki Atkinson made a comment that she was already suspect of him when he went to the car.
Uh-huh.
She was already suspicious of him, and she followed him to the car, and he was startled by her being behind him.
Uh-huh.
Well, the copper should have been with her.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, he should have been with her. Yeah, this is the whole thing. Without a trial, we're not going to get any answers. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that, like, that does bother me too, that the police officer didn't follow close behind. I mean, what if Shanann was in there and needed, aid, and Chris or Nicole didn't know CPR?
Correct.
And he just hung out outside, like, doo-doo-doo.
Yep. Yeah, well, according to Chris, he doesn't know how to use CPR on children. But they touched on it apparently, but he wasn't taught it.
Yeah, I remember
Discovery. I read about that too. Because he said he couldn't. They would turn blue, the children. So Chris knew CPR. You know what I mean? So that's.
Another interesting point that I've uncovered, Dave, with the interrogation is if you go through the discovery and you read verbatim where he gives his first initial confession, interrogation video that we've seen is
verbatim,
chopped.
that's right.
It's chopped. Because if you compare it to discovery, there's things that you can read that Tammy Lee said that are not in that video.
She wrote about a 35-page report.
Correct.
It's the longest report. Like, she would have been typing for days.
Verbatim.
Yes, she did it verbatim so there were things that were missed.
Yeah, and I was reading through it, and I was like, because I skipped over it before because I thought, I've seen that video.
Yeah, so
I've already watched that. But I reread it, and I was like, huh? I don't remember them saying this. I don't remember them saying that.
Is there anything you want to bring up now?
That was a lot of it was in the video that I did about his initial confession.
Mm-hmm.
The things that were asked that were not in the video that were shown. When he said Shanann killed the girls, they revisited that like 3 or 4 times in the video, and I don't know why they would have chopped it.
Yeah, well, if you look at the
discovery.
What's that?
I said because it's weird because why would it be in the video if it's released in the discovery? Like, why?
Right. Why is the video chopped but the text is in discovery? Like, you have to read it to actually find out what was really said. Because if you just watch the video, you're only getting parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got 45 minutes of him sitting in that room by himself looking at the videos of his kids.
Right.
Like, that was like, as a viewer, that was torture.
That was torture. Yeah.
You know what I mean? For us watching, this was in the live you actually covered it.
Yeah, that clock
after the whole 45. Yeah, the clock ticking did my.
Clock. The infamous clock.
Yeah, I had to get up and walk out of the room because that was doing my head in.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, the state of mind he was in at that point.
Yeah, but he's looking at these videos of his kids, and he already knew what he'd done, but he never, and he hadn't actually admitted to anything at that point.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Now, Dave, I have to ask you, do you think that Chris killed the kids?
There is no way he killed his children.
Amen. That's what I
You don't
Because-
think so?
No way. Because the love he had for those girls, it's so evident. I know they had a fake family. I know it was. So I'm sorry to those people that love
showcased.
Shannon.
Yes.
It was this
It was a
social
farce.
media facade that
Yes.
people put out there, and they put up photos of the family smiling, and she talks about everything being so wonderful, and Chris this, Chris that. The girls wouldn't shut up about.
She was
the girls.
selling her life. You know, she was
Yeah,
selling
exactly,
her life.
So for likes,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's a social media thing. You know, I want likes. So
And
the
she
more
wanted
likes I get-
business. And she wanted
Yep.
business, you know. And she was
But
selling
there's-
this perfect life that she was
Yep.
showcasing.
There's no way that Bella could sing that song about her father if he didn't adore her. Like he adored both of them girls, and he did.
I
everything.
agree.
He
I
did
agree.
everything. He did any people that say he did nothing, right? Those people he did everything for those girls. Shannon did not much, in my
I agree
opinion.
with that. No, I
agree with that.
fully
He
agree with
did
that.
absolutely everything, and you know he was bathing them, he was feeding them, he was doing their lunch for school, and he didn't do their lunch that morning.
And I
Because
just want to interject because I can already hear what chat's going to say.
Mhm.
And they're going to say, well, that doesn't mean that he had a right to kill her. No one ever has the
No.
right to kill anybody else. So that goes without saying. Like, that's
No,
disclaimer
It-
across the board.
and
But
there is that.
what we're talking about is like his love and his
Oh,
devotion to those girls.
was above anyone else.
And I think
Anyone.
it's evident when, you know, he's looking for an apartment where they have a bedroom. You
Yep.
know, when he talked to Nikki, you know, that wouldn't
Yep.
have been if he wasn't planning on having those girls.
Yeah,
They would have never been in the equation.
That discussion
they
would
would never
not have
been in that conversation because he
No.
would have had premeditation, and he wouldn't have. You know, it would have been like, well, they're not going to be here.
Yeah, that wouldn't have even been a discussion. So
Correct.
I don't think that he ever wanted those girls dead.
No,
Okay.
I don't either.
You know, so let's open up a can of worms.
Oh shit.
Okay, let's open up a big can of worms here.
Oh, Dave.
If they were alive in the car on the drive, did somebody else do it out at Servy? Or
And
did
put 'em in
somebody
the
else
tanks?
do it at 5:30 in the morning in the house and it wasn't Chris? And there's no way he put his girls in the tank. There is absolutely no way. Not possible. I could imagine a certain woman doing it. She didn't like kids that much.
You know, I'm gonna have to agree with Dave on this one. I
See,
have
don't.
to.
I don't think she did that.
Okay, tell us. I have to ask why.
Why?
Well, number
he couldn't do it. Mum
I
was
don't-
dead.
I don't know. I just don't think that she could have behaved the way she did after. If she had done the act and put him in the tanks.
We didn't know how she acted before.
But when she reached out to the police, you know, and she spoke with them and she spoke about the girls, I just think she would have had more emotion just being a human being. Scared.
Yeah.
She was very cocky. She felt very protected. So I don't know if that had to do with her dad's connections, but to speak like she did to an investigator working a triple murder.
Yep.
She was very cocky and very confident, in my
But she
opinion.
wasn't being interviewed she had never been read of rights.
I wouldn't, you know what? It wouldn't even matter to me. If I had been sleeping with a man who ultimately his wife and kids ended up dead and at his job site, even if I wasn't read my rights, I would have been scared shitless.
I would have came forward. If that was me,
I would have never been cocky.
No.
And
Day one, she deleted.
She deleted
everything.
and justified everything she did. Justified it all.
All right, basically because she was having an affair. She didn't want But by deleting all those messages, she deletes data of where those messages were when they were written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
it
I
shows
get
guilt.
that, but I get she had nudies, and you don't want people seeing nudies.
No,
But
obviously
I will
not.
say, I mean, the nudies, yes, that is a very damning thing to have. But at the same time, why do a Google search can cops trace deleted text messages? Like, why specify what you're trying to hide if you don't have anything to hide, if you're just merely the mistress?
That's right, and that's why did Chris Watts in the interview with the media, talk about having an argument with his wife because he was creating a narrative. Well, Nicolekessinger did the same thing with the police. She created her own narrative.
Yeah, interesting that Chris Watts didn't say, no, we didn't have an argument.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Everything was fine. She came in and went to bed, and I got up and went to work. And
Yeah,
why did he throw the argument in there, I wonder?
That's a good question. I've wondered that too.
Yep. So he's created a narrative already, and Nicolekessinger created one with the police. She and then her father led the entire interview. So
you know what else is
Nicolekessinger-
interesting, Dave,
yes.
that I saw in Discovery that I picked up lately? He said that Nicole said, "Don't contact me until this is over." And I thought that was interesting, the wording.
Yeah.
Until this is over. What? Like, how about don't contact me again? How about forget you ever met me?
Where is your wife and children?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That's the biggest one.
She told him, delete everything and don't contact me until this is over.
Yep.
What the hell does that mean?
Exactly.
You're right. There's so many little tidbits. God, it makes my head spin.
Yeah, and then but to all the trolls that are out there and the people that interject in your chats at times that say, why are we still talking about this case? Well, I hope that I've answered that for people.
One theory turned into 10.
But the whole thing about the case is it's just there's so many questions unanswered. That's
intriguing.
why we're still talking about it. That's why we're talking about it.
And I fully agree. And I mean, the other thing is too, is where really is the justice? I mean, you have a pregnant woman with a baby, 2 little girls, and we have no answers. Like, when this is a homicide case.
Yep.
And to me, it's like
he should never have been offered a plea deal.
So if her family doesn't have all the details, then they should demand
I would if I was
absolutely.
I would. If it was my sister, my daughter. Yep.
So, all right. So I'm going to wrap this up with this, and I'm going to leave you guys with this.
Yep.
What if, and this brings us to the next theory in the theories series, what if NK was pregnant? And this discussion was part of the 111-minute phone call.
Oh my God.
Da, 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 da.
Oh my God.
Brings us to the next theory we're going to discuss. What do you think?
Well, that'd be very, very interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's
what
pretty
people have to say
detailed
about it.
It's pretty detailed too. But man, Dave, your theory brought us to a lot of different avenues, and it was a really good discussion. Thank you for
one of your listeners, Heather Ann, she
love Heather Ann. She's an OG.
Well, she suggested in one of the chats that I should talk to you in more depth about it. Well, I think we covered that.
We sure did.
Heather.
Heather, did we do good?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to have you on again.
Or I like how intuitive you are with a lot of cases, like even the Avery case.
Right.
Like, Stephen Avery, I'm way into that, and I'm into Scott Peterson.
Oh, Jay.
That's right. That's my case.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I'm into that.
I think we should definitely do this again.
Oh, for sure. I've absolutely loved it.
Dave, you are awesome.
Yes. You did a wonderful job. And for your first Zoom, I give you A+.
And I stayed on video the whole time.
You did great. You did great. Thank you so much, Dave. It was awesome.
Scott Peterson case, I'll throw in pictures behind me.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Of the bay.
Yes,
bay in the boat.
In a boat.